Full of God. Listen, I want to show you something. I couldn't get back in bed this morning. The day is too pretty. Although I wanted to, but after breakfast I decided not to. I shared this a while back, but for those of you that's changing your own oil at home, when you change your oil, you can get something like this right here. This holds 16 quarts, or you can get something bigger if you need it. But whenever you do change your oil, you can come to places like O'Reilly's, AutoZone, and Advance Auto, and you can change it yourself. If you change it at O'Reilly's, they usually have a side door. You just go in, and there's a whole oil pan, and you can dump your oil in there. So I just wanted to share that. I'm about to change some oil this morning, and if you decide to change your own, then you'll know where to dump your oil if you ever need to. Right, I got an empty oil container, and I'm gonna change this oil on the truck, and I'm gonna go to the car. Okay, I had this truck running a little bit so that the oil could heat up just a little bit, get all the sludge out, and I've already broken that bolt loose. Now I was just gonna loosen it and let the oil run. It can be a mess sometimes when it comes out. Let me put my phone back. That is all to it. It's draining. So I'm gonna let that drain while I go. And it's warm too, so all that sludge is getting out of there. I'm gonna let that keep draining while I go and loosen the filter and everything. Alright. So the oil is draining. While the oil is draining, I loosen this filter. And I usually let the oil drain. Try to have time where I let the oil drain for at least an hour or two, just to let it keep, but not today, because I got 2 oil changes going on today. So that filter is loose. I gotta pop the filter wrench off, because it's act like it want to stay stuck on there. Let me put my phone down. Okay, the oil filter wrench is acting like it's stuck on there, so I just let it stay on until I pull the whole thing out. Finish loosening it by hand. It doesn't take long to change oil at all. Alright, so that is loose. I'm going to let it stay straight up because that filter is full of oil. So what I got, instead of pulling it out there, when I used to get the oil change at the dealer, every time I got it back, I would see oil leaking from up under there, and I would get up under there and they'd be like, oh, that's when we pulled the filter out. So I got this, and if you don't know what this is an oil filter cap, made especially for Mopar, for the Ram trucks, and you can screw this in the top of there. This is made by Gino's Garage. I think when I first got it, I think it was like $25, $35 or something like that. I don't know how much it is now. I've had it for some years now, but it makes for less of a mess, baby. I don't like mess. So you just screw that in there good, and then you can bend it, twist it, pull it out, and you will not have any oil leaks, because you see it has to bend at a 90-degree angle just to get it out. No oil leaks. The oil is still warm inside of here too. But you can find this blue cap, or one of these caps, at Gino's Garage. So set the old filter to the side and put the new filter in. Some people fill their new filters up with oil. I don't, because it doesn't take long for the oil to circulate through. And so once if I can get this new filter in here, I may need 2 hands to move my transmission line out the way. Let me put the phone down. Okay, got the oil filter in there. Now I'm just gonna lift it up and visually feel and get a visual and screw it right back in place just like I took it off. Simple as that. Hand tighten it. And I'm just going to get my wrench on it after I hand tighten it, just to turn it 2 more times. That's it. So that's the oil filter. Now I'm going to go put the bolt back on the oil pan and fill it up with oil. Okay, I'm just going to tighten this bolt back up on there. Now some bolts, they have a specific torque spec. This one in particular, it calls to be torqued at 35 foot-pounds. If you don't have a torque wrench, you can get one from Harbor Freight for 20 bucks or less. And you just put it at the specific number at the bottom of this wrench. You just turn it to the specific torque, lock it in, and you spin it, tighten it until you hear a click, and that's torqued. Pretty much just to make sure it's at the right torque. As you can see, the oil is still slowly leaking. That's why I say normally I would let it drain for an hour or 2, but today I'm not, because I'm on an oil change speed mission. I got multiple oil changes to complete today, so I'm just gonna let bygones be bygones and go with that. Now on these trucks, some people say they let their oil go for about 10,000, 15,000 miles. I don't do that, even though the dealer recommends every 15,000. But the more you change the oil, the better for the engine. So if you're using synthetic oil, you probably could get away, because I think certain synthetic oils will tell it doesn't break down till about 10,000 miles, and they also say it's good to go for, it's good for 15,000. But with these trucks, and they got the DEF system and all of that in there, I wouldn't go over 10,000 even with synthetic. But I change the oil on this truck every 7,500 miles. The more you change the oil, the better. Some people say, oh, you're doing it too soon. Oh well, 431,000 miles, and it still drives like a charm. So I don't think it's too soon. 7,500 miles is actually a lot. So tighten the bolt by hand, then put the torque wrench on it. There, you hear it clicks. That's 35 foot-pounds. And this is good to go. I just got to add oil. Okay, now this is a little different setup, huh? Because this is a car. And not all vehicles are the same. So on the car here, you see right here, it's just a bolt. On that bolt, it doesn't have any torque spec, so you just want to get it snug when you take it off. Kind of feel the pressure that you use to get it off, and just put the same pressure back on. Just don't over tighten it, right? And I'm gonna show you another thing. Sometimes when people say you need an oil pan gasket, or you have an oil pan leak, you see this seepage here. This has been like this for a very long time. Sometimes these bolts at the back of the pan can need to be torqued down just a little bit. But I've got the car on stand, so the front of the car is tilted up, and all the oil is to the back. And you see it's wet around here, but it's not bad. It's not. This has been like this, I remember, for several years. About several years ago, the dealer was like, oh, you need an oil pan gasket. So I looked at it myself, and I determined that I didn't really need an oil pan gasket. I just tightened up these bolts, and I never had a problem. Don't really have an oil leak, and so I've got it up in the air like this. But if you ever need an oil pan gasket, you would, all these bolts around the pan here,
These look like 10 or 12 millimeter bolts. They just need to be loosened. And then you just take that pan, after you drain the oil, of course, and you just take the pan down, and you can use ATV sealant, or you can put a gasket back on. ATV sealant is going to be the best. And what you would do is scrape all the old gasket off from all around the pan and just put sealant. Kind of like I did a video on the transmission. When I did it, I put ATV sealant on it. And that's just the same thing you would use. Put it all around the edge. And then put the pan back on, bolt it up, torque the bolts down to the correct spec. And let it sit, let it cure for at least a few hours before you add oil, to make sure the gasket is, you know, it's sealed. And then just add oil, and that's simple as that. Once you learn one thing, go to the next. But anyway, this is a 17 millimeter socket bolt. I didn't know which one, so I brought 15 and 17 under here with me. So you just put the 17 millimeter on to the ratchet, and you break the bolt loose, and the oil will drain in the pan. Let me put the fire down a minute. Okay, I've got the bolt loose, so I'm just going to take it out, and the oil will, there you go. Simple as that. Bada boom, bada bing. Now, while this is draining, I'm going back to the truck, and I'm going to add oil in the truck. That way, I'll give this more time to drain, and then I'll come back over here and take the filter off, and put the new filter on, and then I will put this bolt back on the oil pan and add oil in here. Simple as that. Bada boom, bada bing. Okay, I'm ready to add the oil in the truck, and this truck takes 1540, and I use synthetic blend in this one. So, and it takes up to 12 quarts, right? So I normally add this 2.5 gallon, which is about 10 quarts, and I let it settle a bit, and I check it, and then I add more until I reach it to a safe full level. Because sometimes it, even though it calls for 12 quarts completely empty, sometimes when I get to about 10.5, 11, it's about full. So I check it after I do this 10, right? And so let's add the oil. It drunk every bit of that. You can hear it gargling it down. You're thirsty, baby. You're thirsty. Your baby thirsty. When your baby thirsty, you got to give her something to drink. Drink it, baby. Drink it. Now I'm going to check this stick and see, look at the oil level. See, it's a little past safe. But also, what I have to take into account, the filter is not filled up. So I'm going to, and that's just with the 2.5 gallons. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the stick back in it. I'm going to put the oil cap back on. I'm going to turn it on and run it for 1 minute. And then, after I run it for 1 minute, I'm going to turn it back off. Let it settle while I go finish changing the filter and adding oil to the car. And while it's settling, I'll be able to come back and check the correct oil amount, because it'll be settled by then. Okay, now I was about to take this filter up off of this car, and I'm gonna bring this oil pan back some, because it may leak a little bit. I don't want it leaking on me. Let me see. Oh, the oil's still dripping. Well, I just have to deal with it when it leaks, because it probably will leak some. So anyway, to get up in there, obviously this ratchet can't get past this cover, and I'm not going to take this cover off. So look what I have. See that right there? That's called an extension to fit this ratchet, and this is a 3/8 inch head ratchet. So I was just gonna put that extension up under there like that. Can you see? I don't know if the light angle. Okay. So I got the stick that extension in. Left is loose, right is tight. I gotta put the phone down. Okay, it's loose enough so I can loosen it by hand. And I just loosen it. And these are Fram filters. The next one I put on. Ooh, see what I told you? Look at that. Look at that. That oil come down on me like that. On my hand. I should have had on some gloves. But let it drain. And then when I put the other one on, I'm gonna put it on by hand. Just gonna hand tighten it. And that's it. I'm gonna loosen the top off of the oil cap at the hood. You have the right size filter for your car. You can put it on. You can look, there's a book that I shared in the store. Wherever you buy filters, wherever you see filters, you see a book and you look up your car make, model, year, and it'll tell you what size filter you need if you're not getting the filter from your dealer. It'll show you. So we're gonna pop this filter back on. I'm just gonna hand tighten it, which will be enough. I'll clean the oil from around there. So I'm just gonna pop this filter back on. And I'm not even gonna put the ratchet on it. I'm gonna hand tighten it because I can get it pretty tight by hand. And that's it. Filter in place. Now I'm gonna scoot back here and put this bolt in place. And before you put the bolt in, you wanna make sure you wipe it off really, really good. Wipe the bolt off. As you can see, the oil still dripping just a little bit, but it's not gonna sit and drip all day like I normally do. I normally let this stuff drip like an hour or two, and sometimes when I'm really have time, I'll just leave them and let them drip overnight. When I come back out, I don't have any drip. That's when I really just not pressed for time, but that's it. See, this thing has gotten full now, so I'll just clean it up, put it in the back of my little van, and go dump it again. I dumped it. I had to dump it this morning because the last oil change I didn't have it dumped. And sometimes you got concrete, you want to have something up under this, or if it's on the ground. I've had several of these things because they can, over time they wear out, get a little hole at the bottom or something. You see oil leaking. So it's good to have more than one, or whenever you're moving it around, just to be careful with it. That's all. Just to be careful with it. And make sure you have a lot of shop towels. If you like keeping stuff clean. These shop towels come in handy. Okay, now I'm about to add the oil back in the car. 5 weight 20 is what I'm adding. Synthetic blend. And if you remember last year when I changed the oil, I used what was it? I think it was a different brand. I used 5 weight 30 because it was cold. It calls for 5 weight 20, but sometimes what I do in the winter, I use 5 weight 30, and it's been working good for me. Now
I'm going to use 5 weight 20, which is what it calls for. And I'm going to fill her up. It calls for 5 quarts, and this entire bottle is 5 quarts, but it may not even take all that. So I'm going to put most of it in, and then I'm going to check it just to be sure. And that's it, people of God. That's how I complete these oil changes. Simple as that. Bada boom, bada bing. Have a blessed day.